a party formed by Declan Ganley or Michael McDowell or anyone like that. The party is called Direct Democracy Ireland, and seemingly it already has a significant amount of members in the Northwest region. On the line to tell us more about it is Ben Gilroy from Direct Democracy Ireland. Ben, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. What is it exactly? What is this party in a nutshell?
Well, Direct Democracy is a new political party. We actually call it a service because we want to distinguish ourselves from the what we would deem as representative democracy, which doesn't actually represent any of us. We always say that there's a gaping hole for some party to actually represent the interests of the people, who seem to be, for a better word, getting constantly screwed by this government and the ones before it. And what we say now, that there's nothing as more powerful as an idea whose time has come, and I believe our time has come.
But what sort of a party is it? Is it left-wing? Is it right-wing? Is it...
Okay, well, our party is neither left nor right nor centre. We are basically just after the rights for the people of Ireland. Direct democracy is an idea that was left in our first constitution by our forefathers, and it was left as a protection from oppressive corporate crown bullies that you see now going on in Europe. I mean, if you take 80% of our laws are coming from basically a Europe that nobody voted for, and they're oppressing the people. I mean, the whole country is in receivership. Over 100,000 mortgages facing eviction. Businesses closing from the top of the country to the bottom of the country, and nobody is to blame except the corporate banks who broke serious liquidity laws in this country and all over Europe. And then our government, of course, you know, I don't want to keep harping on about it, but our government forced us, the people who they represent, forced us to bail them out. And then anybody who was crazy enough to buy their dodgy bank products, we had to bail them out as well.
Okay, well, so has the party been formed on that whole dissatisfaction, as you say it, with the bailout, in terms of the bailout and how much it's costing each individual in this country?
Absolutely. Yeah, because the people of this country are not being represented by their elected people. They're not being represented. This government and the governments before represent their corporate elitist buddies in Europe.
But they're as democratic as your party. I mean, they're
direct. No, they're not.
Well, the TDs and the TDs we have, whether we like it or not, are elected by you and me.
Yes, they are. But that's because you only had to. Who was on the cards when you went to vote? It was Tweedledum or Tweedledee, and that's the point. That's why we needed a new party. You definitely needed a new party, and one that will represent the people. The idea of direct democracy was left in your first constitution, and what it is
all right. Well, just to pick you up on that, you're saying that, you know, when you vote for the Fianna Fáil candidate, for example, or the Fine Gael candidate, it's Tweedledum against Tweedledee because the parties themselves decide within their own members who's going to go forward. If you were putting candidates forward, and maybe you are in the local elections next year, how do you choose?
Yeah, well, we're putting one.
All right. Well, how do you choose your candidates? Is it not the same process?
Yes. That part of it is democratic, but the point I'm trying to make is that direct democracy is a different system. What you have is representative democracy, and it's not actually representing you. It's under the guise of that. So what you have is, say you have a large party, and you have a cabinet at the table where there's 12 members. Within that, you have a hierarchy of maybe 3, with the Taoiseach and the Taoiseach and whoever else, right? Then you have a party whip system. So all you have is somebody who will influence them 3, will actually dictate what goes on in the country. That's wrong. That's not democracy. That's as close to fascism as you're going to get.
Okay, but if you, for example, if we talk about the general election, if you got, we'll say, 10 candidates elected as TDs,
yes.
I mean, is it not inevitable that you're not going to end up in the same system as a party or as a movement?
No, absolutely not. And if you let me explain, I'll tell you how. In the direct democracy, there are 2 articles that were in the Constitution that were taken out illegally, by the way. And one was the right of recall, where you can get rid of a TD. So you can actually get rid of a TD that's not representing the people and basically not doing what he's told. A TD should be no more than the spokesman for the wishes of the people. And that's what's lacking, and sadly lacking, in this country. The other part is direct democracy left us that if you gathered enough signatures, you could call a referendum. Now, if you take the idea that if we had direct democracy at the night of the bailout, it would have never happened. It would have never happened because Merkel would have been told, look, I can bail you out by Cowen's government if you wish, But the problem is Ireland has direct democracy, and within 3 days they will call a referendum. So you better come back with a better idea. And that's why it leads to good governance. If you take yesterday, just take yesterday for instance, okay? Now, and I don't talk about ECB and Troika and all that. Call them what they are. They're a corporation like Pepsi-Cola. And I mean no disrespect to Pepsi-Cola when I say that. But let's say in this country Pepsi-Cola were trading illegally. Our government forced us to bail out Pepsi-Cola. Anybody who invested in Pepsi-Cola products, we had to bail out as well, to the detriment of the country. And a debt that's going to be put onto our children even when they're 50 years of age, even if they're young now, or unborn for that matter. And now we have yesterday, the Pepsi-Cola Corporation have basically said to our government that we need you to change the law because we can't screw enough of your people. We can't screw enough of your people, the very people that bailed us out, so we want you to change the law. And our government, like the puppets of Europe that they are, have agreed, and they will now go try and change that law.
All right. I was just looking at your website, and you say your core values, to quote you, are equality, justice, transparency, vision, inclusiveness, honesty, accountability. You could look at the manifesto or the programme for government of any political party, and you'll find those buzzwords in it.
Yeah, unfortunately,
every one of them will say that. So how can we believe what you're saying?
Right, well, first of all, you would have to look into my background and others. However, you are right. They do all say that, but none of them mean it. So let's say Ben Gilroy is going for the by-election in Meath that's coming up soon, and the good people of Meath vote me in. And let's say I then don't represent the people there. We have recall. We're the first and only party to put in recall. In other words, the good people of Meath can get me out just as quick as they put me in. And of course, when you have a different agenda, you won't be singing from that hymn sheet, and that's why they don't. Also, we do not have a party whip system.
Right, okay. Any political background yourself, Ben, before
No, none whatsoever. I never voted from my early 20s. I know people will say that's a shame and I should have done, but I grew up in Charlie Hockey country, and I knew very quickly that even though my family would be very staunch, Fianna Fáil, I grew up in Charlie Hockey country as a young man and knew that politics in this country, like, we are a terrific country. We are very rich in assets and everything. Where has all our assets gone? Does anybody know how much we got for the oil? Does anybody know how much we got for gas, for our mines, for our fishing? No. It's all done behind closed doors and dodgy deals, and that's why we want full transparency. There should be a website of the transparent deals done for government, any tenders done, but it's all hidden. Why is that?
Okay.
Well, there's only 4.5 million on us of this part of the island. We're not much bigger than Manchester. And we're one of the richest countries in Europe in assets. We should all be wealthy, and instead we have debt passed on to our children.
There's definitely no tie-up between this political party that you're involved in. No tie-up at all between this party and the United Left Alliance at all. None.
No, but having said that, if we see, this is the point. I don't want the us and them mentality, because that's what's wrong with politics too. If I think Fianna Fáil come out with a good idea, why shouldn't I say it's a good idea? This sort of gamesmanship and one-upmanship, if ULA or whoever else come out with a good idea, I will support that. There's nothing wrong with that.
How many members would you have, Ben, at this stage, would you think?
I would say we've around 4,000 signed-up members around the country, and we have offices. And you must remember, we only launched before Christmas. And when we launched across from the Dáil in the hotel there, the Buzzwells Hotel, where the press go, the Irish Times reported correctly that it was standing room only. And I mean, when I went to do the talk, I couldn't get through the crowd to get to the stage. Because we had to move the chairs and everything out of the way.
You're probably preaching to the converted at that stage. But in any case, will you stand candidates in the local elections next year, or are you waiting for the general election?
There will be one coming in Meath soon because of that poor man that committed suicide, like an awful lot of other people around the country from the policies probably of his government and the government before. But we have constituencies opening. There's one in Letterkenny opening quite soon. We've one in Cavan, 2 in Meath, 2 in Kildare, 1 in Mayo, 1 in Tipperary, 1 in Waterford, 3 in Dublin, and new one opening soon in all counties. That's not bad for a party that just launched before Christmas.
Okay, all right. We'll see how it goes. Thanks, for joining us this morning. Ben Gilroy of Direct Democracy Ireland. It's 17 minutes now to 11.
Ocean FM.
Ocean FM's Northwest Today, thanks to Ireland's largest kitchen and bedroom show.